Good morning. How are my fabulous fourth graders today? Good to hear. Okay, great. Well, we're going to get into our warm-up groups like we always do, but today we're going to do something a little bit different. So get into your warm-up groups, but don't start anything and don't touch anything yet. Good job. Now, as you can see, in each group, there is a fan and there's a bucket with sponges inside. We're going to do a little experiment, but you need to listen to my instructions first, and I'm going to demonstrate. First, each person is going to get one sponge using one hand. Now, you may choose to use your left hand or your right hand, but only use one hand. So I'm going to use my right hand. I'm going to reach in and get a sponge and squeeze out the excess water. Then I'm going to use 2 fingers for my left hand because I want it to stay as dry as possible. And pick up the sponge and put it on the back of my hand. Okay, just like that. And the other hand stays dry. If your fingers got a little wet, just wipe them off on your pants. It's okay. So I have one hand with the wet sponge and one hand with no sponge, and my hand is dry. Go ahead. I want you to do that. Very good. Now everyone has the sponge with the hand and it's wet, and the dry hand. Does one feel different than the other one? Which one? This one? It feels wet. What else? It feels cold. It feels cooler than this hand, right? Okay, I'm going to walk around and I'm going to turn on the fans. Now I want you to stand in front of the fan, and I want you to see if there's a difference. This one's a lot colder, isn't it? The one with the sponge where there's water on your skin, it's cooler, right? Much cooler. Good job. Now I want everyone to go ahead and take your sponge, put it back in the bucket of water, and then come back to the group center and sit down. Did you know that water inside our bodies has a lot of different functions? But the one we're going to talk about today is how it helps to keep our body cool. Like where the sponge was on the back of our hand and it was cooler, we're going to talk about how the water inside our body helps to keep our whole body cooler. Okay? In order to do that, I'm going to first ask you some questions. I know that in science class you've been studying the water cycle. Do you remember about the water cycle? Yes, that's some great details. We're going to go over those right now. So we have the water cycle, and we were talking in science class, you talked about how the water cycle happens on Earth, right? So here's our Earth. It has some land. I'm not a very good artist, so just bear with me, but we have land, and we have land over here, and we have land over here. And what's in between that land? Water, lots of water. How much water is on the Earth? If you was to take a percentage of Earth and add up all the water in the oceans, all the water in the lakes. Do you remember, did you learn how much of the Earth is water? That's very close. 71%. 71% of the Earth is water. So where are some places that has water? Oceans, lakes. When you talked about the water cycle, do you remember what was said about how they collect? That's right. So we have oceans, we have rivers, we have lakes, and they make up 71% of the Earth. That water does. Now, in the human body, did you know that the human body has water as well? collects water as well. So here, the earth has 71% water. How much water do you think is in our body? How much of our body is water? Those are good guesses. It's actually approximately 50 to 65% water. So here's our little person. I'm going to draw a stick person with a happy face and some curly hair. And our person, we're going to say about right here on the way down, just because it's easier to do the top half or the bottom half. We're going to say this is 50 to 65% water. Okay? So there's our human body with water in it. So we collect water as well. And as I said, water has a lot of different functions for our body, but today we're going to talk about how it helps to keep our body cool. Okay? Let's go back to the earth. We have water that's collected in oceans, rivers, lakes. What happens to that water? Yes, it evaporates. And what causes it to evaporate? Heat from the sun. That's right. So we have the sun. It heats up this water right here. And it goes into the air, right? Here's our evaporating. And what does it do when it evaporates? It forms into condensation. Do you remember that word? Condensation? Condensation is when it gets up into the air and it cools and it forms clouds. That's right. The condensation part, it forms clouds. Now those clouds get full. Do you remember that? And what happens? They get full and you have rain and snow or precipitation. So here's our big water drop. So you have precipitation, and then what happens? That precipitation goes back into the oceans, the lakes, and the rivers, right? So you have places that collect it, the sun heats it up, it forms condensation when it cools again, which then gives us precipitation back to collecting. That's the water cycle on the earth. Well, over here we learned our body has water. Do you think there's a way for water to evaporate out of our body? Is there a way that we could heat up our bodies and we would actually have our water evaporate? Well, let's think. When are times that your body gets hot? Yes. Right, exactly. Yes. Here we are getting ready to start in physical education class. And does your body get hotter when you go out and run? Does it get hotter when we play games? What happens is our muscles start working hard on the inside and it creates heat on the inside and our bodies heat up. So one way we can heat up our body is through exercise. So here we have a little guy and he's on a bicycle. Okay, we have this little guy, or this little girl, this is a girl. And she's playing soccer. She's kicking the ball. Here's the ball. So they're exercising. Now, if you exercise for approximately 1 hour, did you know that you can actually heat up your body so much that it actually starts to leave your body. And what do we call that? When it actually comes out of your body and it's on your skin. Sort of like the sponge was on our hand and there was a little bit, there was water there. Did you feel that? Sweat. That is right. When there's water on the inside of your body and you work really hard and it starts to evaporate and come out of your body, and on top of your body it forms sweat. Now, if you exercise for 1 hour, did you know that you can lose approximately 2 large water bottles of water from your body through sweat? So did you know that you could actually lose 2 large water bottles, 2 of these, by exercising for 1 hour? That's a lot of water, right? Well, when the earth lost its water through evaporation and then it formed clouds, did the clouds keep the water? It gave it back through precipitation. Well, when it rains or snows, does our body absorb that water? So how do we get water back? We can drink water. We can also eat water. Do you know watermelon is a really good fruit that has lots of water in it? And there's lots of other foods too. So we're going to call this restore. Okay? So we've evaporated into sweat. We're going to restore our water. Now, if we've lost 2 of these large water bottles, if we're going to restore, see, look at our person up here. We've lost water. We worked hard for an hour and we lost some water. To restore that water, we said we're going to drink it. And when we drink and it restores, it goes right back up to where it was. That's what restore means. To fill back up to where it was before. Not to get extra, not to almost get there. You get all the way back up to what you did have. You restored it. And so, let me ask you this. On the earth, when you have the water cycle, do we like go a whole year and we have no rain, no snow, and then all of a sudden we get all of our snow and rain in one day? No, no, no. How do we get that? It comes to us gradually, right? We might have just an hour of rain or a couple of days of rain. We might get snow here and there. I know with California, do we get very much snow and rain? We don't, do we? Not here where we live. But I grew up in Missouri, and in Missouri, we would have, during the seasons, like you could just count on getting snow about Christmas time, and then January and February, we knew we were going to get snow. And then March, we never knew, and then April, we called it April showers because we always got lots and lots and lots of showers for April because it brought May flowers. And then during the summer, we had thunderstorms and such. So we had rain and snow. It was periodically, but it was during the year. Well, let me ask you, if you've been exercising and you lose 2 large water bottles of water, do you want to, when you sit down after you get done exercising, do you want to drink 2 of these right away? All at once? No, no, no. So let's look at this. Is there a way we can maybe not drink all of that? Have you ever seen anything similar to this, but they're smaller? They do. They make some smaller water bottles. They're about half the size. So if we had 2 of these that we lost, and then we would need 4, wouldn't we? We would need 4 small water bottles. So here's my 4 small water bottles. And I'm going to draw them on here for you too. So here's our 4 small water bottles. Now, when do you think we could drink those waters? Yeah, we're definitely going to need one afterwards, right? I always, 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 always need to drink water after I exercise. Always. Definitely after. You've been told to drink water before you exercise. That's a really good one. I've heard that one before. Let's drink some water before we exercise. During, yes, we can definitely drink water while we're exercising, right? In fact, they suggest every 20 minutes we should drink water. So let's look at this real quick. Let's say we are going to exercise for 1 hour. Do we remember how many minutes are in an hour? 60. Good. So we have 60 minutes, right? We just drank our first water bottle before we started our 60 minutes, okay? Now, we've exercised for 20 minutes, so let's subtract 60 minus 20 is 40 minutes left, okay? And we're now going to drink our second water bottle. Now we're going to go exercise for 20 more minutes. We have 20 minutes left, very good. But we're going to take a break, right? Because we said we're going to drink water every 20 minutes while we're exercising. So there's our third water bottle. So now we had 20 minutes left, right? Let's go ahead and do that exercise. And we're done now. We're done exercising. And we're going to drink our fourth water bottle after we've exercised. Now, if we actually lost 2 full water bottles and we drank a small one before, one at 20 minutes, another one at 40 minutes, and then the fourth one when we were done exercise, have we restored the water we evaporated and sweated out? Did we restore it back to its normal, what we had before? Yes, right? We did. Very good job. Now, remember earlier when I said water helps to cool the human body, but that's only one function. The human body actually uses water for lots and lots of different reasons, and we're not going to talk about all of those today. But if our body is using water for other things, do we then need to drink more water to restore the water it's being used for the other things as well? We do, right? So is this 4 water bottles, small ones, enough for the whole day? It's not, right? But we're going to talk about that on a different day. We're going to get into that some more on a different day. But there's one last thing I want to talk about, and then we're going to do a project, okay? So one last thing. Let's go back to the earth. We talked about how in the oceans, rivers, lakes, and other things like that, it collects water. We talked about how the sun heats up the water and it evaporates. And then when it's up in the air, it actually cools again and forms it's a condensation because it forms the clouds. And then those clouds get full and we see precipitation. Now, tell me, what if we don't see precipitation? What if we don't get the rain? What if we don't get the snow? Right, just like in California, we have not had rain or snow for quite some time, or not enough. And what do they call that? They call that the drought, right? They call that a drought because the earth has not seen enough precipitation. But let's go back over to the human body where it's collected its water inside. You've exercised, you've heated up your body, it evaporates on the inside and comes out of the outside in form of sweat, which helps to cool your body. And then you're supposed to restore the water. Well, what if you don't? What if you don't drink your 4 bottles of water? What if you're up here and you didn't drink that one day? Do you think you'll be okay? Yeah, probably. What if you exercise a second day and you don't restore? And a third day? What if it's just really hot outside and you didn't drink very much water at all? Look at our poor person. They've lost a lot of water, haven't they? We don't call that a drought, but we do have a word that starts with a D in the English language. Does anyone know? We will say that that person is dehydrated. Oh, sorry. Dehydrated. And that can actually make you very, very sick. And so that is why We never ever want to X out this. We always want to drink water when? Before, during, and after we exercise. Because it helps to cool our body, because our body is made up of 50 to 65% of water. And when we exercise, our muscles heat up the inside of our body, just like the sun heats up the earth water. The exercise heats up our body water, and it evaporates into sweat on the outside of our body, which, remember when the sponge was on our skin? When that sweat is on our skin, it helps to cool our body, but we then need to restore it so we are ready to do it all over again, okay? So what we're going to do right now is we're going to get into groups. I'm going to pair you up, and we're going to get together, and I did print off an earth water cycle sheet for you. It's not for you to use in any way except for just to refresh your memory what one looks like. And today you get to be creative, because I want to see you create a human body water recycle using the words we used up here, like collect, evaporates, sweat, restore. I'm going to see how creative you can be. You can draw the pictures. You can be as detailed as you want. But I also want you to label in areas some of the words we talked about that we could see or feel or smell. Like, we can see, we can feel, and we can smell sweat. We can't really see the water on the inside of our bodies, but you could draw it and show it to us so that we can see. You can also show us how, you feel when you exercise. And you can use some of the words, because you get hot, it heats up your body, it cools your body. And you can go into some details about how much sweat you lose. I want to see how detailed you can make it and how creative you can make it. And use as many details as you can.